so WWDC just wrapped earlier this week, but is the M1 iPad Pro finally worthy of the Pro name? You know, last year, myself and many others included, we all went out and got the M1 iPad Pro in hopes that Apple would launch a iPadOS 15 and change the way we use the iPad, going from it being just a big ass iPhone to a more versatile editing kind of Mac hybrid machine. And now that iPadOS 16 has been announced, my initial thoughts are that things are looking a little bit better for us. Even without all the latest improvements, I managed to use my M1 iPad Pro for photo editing with apps like Affinity Pro, Lightroom, and Photoshop, but the user interface and the real lack for a multitasking system drove me to just use a traditional computer, and editing video on there was kind of out of the question. I mean, of course there's apps like LumaFusion and stuff like that and iMovie, but I need something for more complex edits. Now, the idea of me being able to use my iPad for editing on Final Cut Pro or getting a true macOS companion UI is still not happening. But some changes have been made to make things a little bit more manageable and easier for collaboration. Let me run down a few of these features real quick. Now you can collaborate through iMessage. Now you could collaborate in the past with things like Pages and Notes, I believe, but now you can actually add people through the Messages app and get to see the changes that they make in real time. People can add files, documents, so you can collaborate across all kind of things like Keynote, Numbers, Pages, Notes, Reminders, Safari, as well as select third-party apps. You can also message with your collaborators in real time and also start a FaceTime call group. I feel like some of this may have been possible in the past to some degree, but things have been refined a bit more and punched up to make collaborating a little bit easier across more apps. We can also do more in messages like edit sent messages, undo sent messages, mark conversations as unread, which is also coming to iOS 16, but it's also in iPadOS 16. You can also share play via messages now, so you can watch a movie or do a workout or a game with your messaging group. All these features are great, but I'm not sure if I would consider them pro. They also showed off this feature called Freeform that is like a real-time collaboration space where you can use your Apple Pencil and have like a meeting whiteboard, I guess. I could see this being cool for meetings and brainstorming sessions, but once again, I'm not really sure if this is pro. Safari has collaborate features now. Mail has been improved a bit. Live text now works on paused videos, and the Files app has gotten better, and we have a weather app now. All these things are cool, but I still don't consider them pro, in my opinion. Now, reference mode, on the other hand, does seem to be directly catered to professional video editors and a step in the right direction. Now, you do have to have a 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro, but you'll be able to use the iPad as a reference monitor for color grading. You can also get virtual memory swap, so that's up to 16 gigs of your iPad storage can be used for additional RAM for more powerful apps. This should help with the next feature, Stage Manager. This is another marquee feature that I would consider to be pro. Full access is also restricted to iPads with M1 chips, so the Air or the Pro, but you get expanded multitasking now, allowing you to have a resizable window and group windows. You can drag and drop app windows to the side dock. Stage Manager also gives you the external display support, giving you the same multitasking experience on a larger display. The other barrier of entry for this new Pro interface is the fact that you have to have an M1 iPad in order to take advantage of it. Now, this is kind of bittersweet because I'd used the 2018 iPad Pro for 2 years before upgrading to this one, and it still was more than capable, I think, for today's standards. But if you really like this new UI, it may be time to upgrade. Now, there are several other features and improvements across the board that both iPad and iPhone share, but those are some of the features that I think improve the iPad experience specifically. But is it a more pro machine? To answer that question, yes, it is a more pro machine, but a far cry from what we all desire. If I had it my way, I would make the iPad a true companion to macOS Pro apps. I would love a seamless way of having like scopes and effects library and inspector all on my iPad, while playback and timeline were on the main screen, freeing up screen real estate. Having the iPad be a true extension of the MacBook would be a dope workflow. Now, I still think that Apple is making the right changes when it comes to iPadOS and the iPad Pro, and I still have hope that more Pro features will come for other Apple Pro apps like Motion and Logic Pro, but we just aren't there yet. I did install iPadOS 16 beta on my iPad Pro, but quickly removed it because I literally saw my battery draining in real time, and of course that's just because it's the beta. It'll be much more optimized once the full release is out, but I couldn't go through those growing pains. But before removing the developer profile, I did manage to use Stage Manager a bit, and I think that'll be my default use case for the iPad going forward. Being able to use your screen for multiple apps is a welcome change. iPadOS 16 makes the iPad Pro a little bit more worth it, but I still would not go out right now and buy a 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro because of this update. If anything, the M1 Air is a real winner for most people. And if you're in that small niche that edit video on a MacBook and you want to have that extra screen for color reference mode, then yeah, go for the 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro. But for everyone else, the iPad Air is the way to go. But what are you most excited about from this event? iPadOS is definitely the biggest highlight of the event for me, but there's a ton of other stuff that was thrown our way. Let me know what you think down below. Of course, as always, thank you for watching, and until next time.